Liberty County School Board works on Monday, June the 30th, 2025, come to order. Second discussion, we go with discussion of the budget and the buses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey, couple things. Send y'all some links on this. I know y'all been asking about buses. I want to start with and kind of maybe end on the buses because we can. There's some stuff there that fairly self-explanatory, but I'll explain it as much. And appreciate Kevin providing some of those budget numbers on financing for those buses. First of all, I want to. This is just a way of thank you. I went to threat management training last week. Ricky Sansom is a leader in the state. I'm telling you, and I bragged on him this morning. The people that head up school safety from a training perspective and threat management, they if I had $1 for every time Ricky's name was mentioned, I'd have been able to eat supper for free that night. I appreciate him. Here's what I didn't know. He's helping them with different trainings. They're asking him to come in on some Zoom things for rural districts. And I some of that I did not know, and they shared with me, and I appreciate the job Ricky Sansom does. He's just phenomenal at what he does and keeping us safe and keeping everybody trained, keeping these all of these boxes you have to check for inspections and accountability and compliance. And he's probably going to hit me after today. But he's very humble, but he's very good at what he does. And I appreciate Ricky and the job he does for that. One of the things that's going to help us on budget this year, and I'm going to kind of kick on that. This is going to make y'all really happy. Y'all ready to be made happy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I might need a timpani drum. Yeah. This year, it appears we are going to be able to do online forms for the beginning of the school year. So,
Hello. You are kidding me. Finally.
So this will save like $9,000 in pay. Okay, I'm just kidding about the figure. So I want to thank Mandy and I'm getting to it, and Jenna Chasen, who works for Mandy. So we've been talking about this. And a way to have an online, beginning school thing, with like Mason's got, a bunch of kids in the school. That's a 2 or 3 or 4 day endeavor, and for him and Jennifer. So anyway, we've probably got 80% of the forms online now. There's some little bugs that we're fixing, nothing major. This is the plan as of right now. We're gonna encourage parents in July to go ahead and start doing that when they know those kids and they can get a jump on it. Open house, she'll be set up at open house. If they are not in focus, then those parents can get logged on. It encourages them to be active in focus about knowing what's going on with their kids' education, with grades, with reporting, with communication, Parent Square, all those things. But those online forms, so I've personally went through the portal, and so she's got me set up with her kid as I'm now Lex's daddy. So yeah, he's got 70 parents now. We're using him as the example of being able to fill out those things. So anyway, she's worked with some of our data entry folks as well. I think it's going to be a hit with parents. And so I'm excited to tell y'all about that.
Thank you. Thank the whole team, whoever worked on this.
Jenna is the big.
I don't know. Now, couple questions, because when you go online, you get a whole nother, you're going to get these questions. Marketing it, like you said, start it now.
Correct.
Giving them the option of, there's a lot of grandparents out there, okay, that's raising their kids. So we need to be very cautious. Give them opportunities, windows to even, are we still going to accept paper?
We can print that directly from Focus for them. And
Yes.
Okay. If you've got a 70, and I ain't saying nothing about, but I'm not as smart on technology. So, just giving them those options is very, very important.
Especially with open house, there'll be 4 or 5 different people that are there. Was this last year, if people who aren't logged very shocking to me. I mean, and I wasn't obsessive with my children, but I checked it at least once or twice a week, depending on the time. A lot of people who have not even set up their Focus account. That honestly will be our first hurdle. It's not people that want the online forms.
Yeah.
Everyone has a cell phone, and you can, we've even practiced with, we'll have to do, Mason, y'all will have to do for all 4 kids, because I know that'll be a question. Just because your kids may have different allergies, different, gray, all that kind of stuff. So, but it would save, if you're already typing in Jennifer, it's going to auto-populate that, so you don't have to type that particular word or your address or whatever. Kids who are already here, it's just a matter of going,
Every year, will we
have to
Yes.
review it every year. Because
review it, I agree, but do you have a no changes? Like click here, no changes?
It'll be like by page. So like you'll go through this page and, go to.
But you have to literally go through all that.
Could say no change, and we know good and well you've changed your cell phone. I was on medication and they've got an allergy and you didn't, like just forcing people to go through and just check it.
Uh-huh.
When
Who are we going to put as a contact for this? I think it's very, very important that we have an administrator, assistant administrator.
guidance counselors and data entry at every.
So literally, we're going to put on there, if you have questions regarding this system, contact the principal and
We
assistant
will train
principal.
them, and we've already had a training with data entry that they've come over, met in the library, because I met with them to see what this looks like.
Yeah.
And we actually click and put names in there and stuff like that, but it will become part of the regular onboarding for new students.
Right. That's a lot for principals and assistant principals to be administrators, especially when, a new system like.
Through the guidance office.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll
all right,
get-
just make sure that we're real, we are ready to go. I mean, let it go now, but just make sure that we're very cautious about people that are not as technology savvy.
Yeah.
And this is new, we gotta be patient.
Right.
Maybe people don't go on, I don't know if we've got a way we're gonna start checking and making sure how many we've got. The next question is technology again, database. Where's this gonna be stored at? Is it backed up on the cloud? I assume it would be. Is this gonna blow us up?
No, it's just part of Focus.
Focus.
Okay, so it's in focus.
In there. It's just
Okay,
instead of Liddell having to go in and manually stuff, you'll be fixing your kid's account.
okay. I just, cause I think we talked about it before, about.
We're still
storage and-
we're still using this, except that data entry person takes those forms and does data entry.
That's huge.
And it's
Wow.
massive.
I
It's
know.
massive.
I know.
So this way the parent does it, but we already have these pages built in there. Now it gives the parent access to be able to come in there and do that. So look, I would
Love
say
it.
probably it's gonna take we'll have a year or two of growing pains.
We will.
And then parents start figuring out the big thing, the plus is getting parents engaged and focused. Knowing what their kids are doing.
Are we
knowing what-
doing I mean, I haven't seen really, and maybe I've just not seen this, but I mean, maybe we need to start marketing Focus and saying, get on Facebook, get on, hey, do you know how important this is?
Yeah, we'll start doing that in July.
Yeah.
We hadn't rolled over the year yet.
Yeah, I think we need to do a little outreach.
No, there will, no
Yeah,
doubt. I think
definitely.
parents are gonna be very pleased with that.
Yeah.
Do we have a way of doing like a mass email to the ones that are already in the system, say, hey, Focus is coming,
No,
here's this date, where you email it all out.
Parent Square and all.
Ahead of time, besides Parent Square,
Yeah.
some of them don't have it.
so
Yeah.
Parent Square, what was it's over 99% on. Have a lot more engagement in parents. testing it at the high school with. Those are our two big things.
Will it go to, like tickets
That
if you want to
specific
buy?
account. So like if she builds in for those parking spaces, when she sends that out, you send in your $20 or whatever through Parent Square. When she pulls that parking spaces has $200.
What about like gate entry for athletic events?
Fan. That's
Hmm.
all, tickets are through
didn't
Go
touch
Fan.
That'll stay that way. Yeah,
That.
so that'll stay there. You're not migrating that. So on the focus side, will parents be encouraged or reminded or able to update information at any time for their kids, their phone number change, address changes? So we should be able to, if we're sending reminders, we should have really up-to-date information on students is the theory here. That's great. I think that's great. Well, I mean, that's always the best.
You have a pile do it, and then you have others that want to.
Just won't touch it and.
Don't care about nothing.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so anyway, I want to try to get y'all out of here pretty quick. I got a few things I want to share about the budget, and if you have questions, please stop me along the way. I just found out this morning, Doolin sent out an email, y'all should have got that as well, that DeSantis is signing the budget today. So I expect a veto list prior to that. I've been sitting here refreshing my phone to see if when that's coming in, but it will happen today. The other thing that's gonna happen today is school grades and district grades. By statute, it has to be done by June 30th. Me and Jeff, we talked, we're together this weekend. We were thinking it'd been Friday at 5 o'clock. It did not happen. So all of that will come out today, and we'll forward that information. Probably do a little public statement, whatever that has. Yes, yeah. Yeah. So just a few things about the coming budget. You know, by now, the budget's already been signed. We kind of know a little bit about what we're dealing with student allocation dollars and some of the categoricals. I sent y'all an FEFP thing that came out on the conference report was June 13th, which was the last one when the legislature met a few weeks ago and kind of wrap that up. And that is all tentative, so there's nothing definite in there, but there are some things in there that I would encourage you to look at that affects our budget and some of the allocations that they have agreed on. Again, this is all pending what the governor's gonna veto. I'm being told by Doolin that he's looking at about $155 million of vetoes. That's gotta come from somewhere, and I don't know what that means. The other thing that affects our budget, and again, have no idea what this looks like. Governor DeSantis has pushed the idea of eliminating property tax. I know y'all have heard that in the news. You know, that's a really bold move and a foundational change to our taxing structure in the country, in the state, but especially in the county. I think our total ad valorem tax revenue for Liberty County is a little over $3 million. So, you know, we're heavily dependent on state dollars, but we still do have some money coming in. That does change our required local effort. If we're able to keep that money, how much of that, I mean, how does that change RLE? I don't know what that looks like. We've never had that kind of, foundational change to have to do. So I don't know what that's going to do with some of these numbers that you're going to see in the FEFP, because it already has, your allocations for what we contribute in there. So I don't know. I would love to tell you I know more about that, but we may not know till today. One of the things that Governor DeSantis has said is for fiscally constrained counties that they would that we would not have to pay the 3 million plus, but there would be some kind of subsidy. Again, it blows my mind how you do that. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying I don't know what that looks like structurally. So that we'll get probably more idea today. Usually by this time of the year, we already know. We are doing some restructuring with our 21st century. One of the things that we have seen is that the lion's share of that grant was going into administration, and we wanted to restructure that a little bit. So we're making some change in personnel. with that and kind of reassigning some responsibilities. And so one of the things we want to do is to we've had high turnover with teachers and with site coordinators and the staff. It's just been a high turnover. We want to pay them more money, so we're looking at like for teachers going from $22 an hour to $30 an hour. Again, it's all covered within the grant. Site coordinators from $25 to $35. There's a lot of structural change. A lot of responsibility that comes with those positions, but we're not asking anybody for any more money. We're just restructuring that grant a little bit for the new school year to be able to try to keep staff where they are and to keep them happy. And hopefully, as you know, we were talking about with the Florida virtual, you know, that being a 12-month position. Well, hopefully, if some of these will vie for some of these positions, and there's quite a few of them, they'll be able to work even in the summer as we've got 21st century going right now. So that's a big deal. We're restructuring that. Student enrollment is up and it is down. The incoming ninth grade class coming into the high school, believe it or not, is usually around 100. This year it's about 80. It's just a small class, and you have those small classes and then you'll have those large classes. But we are taking a lot of out-of-district kids in at the high school, so part of that's been made up with out-of-district kids. Toller has been pretty steady with their numbers. Hosford's is down. We've got some kids that I think the brunt of our home education is coming out of the Hosford community, but we've got some Hosford kids coming over to Toller. So we are being very open to taking in those out of district kids, and again, you know, we make them abide by some rules, discipline, grades, and attendance. That's a big thing. That's why focus is such an important part of what we do. You know, when you have parents say, I didn't know my kids missed that many days. Well, they have access on their phone through a Focus app that they can check that at any time, anywhere. So we really want to get them involved in knowing what's going on. Believe it or not, I struggled with right up until the day of graduation, where a kid didn't finish what they needed to finish, and the parents did not know how many absences their kid had and exactly what classes even though those communications went out, they missed it. They missed it, and you know, we can only do but so much, and it takes parents doing their part, and for the most part they do. But you know, we're trying to increase parental participation in that process. As I mentioned before, and I'm checking these off my box, big beautiful bill. Hopefully by the end of the week, Senate will move on that. The House has approved it. That within that for our forest funding is a 3-year extension of SRS money, which is safe and rural schools. So I'm banking on that. If I'm honest with you, we have not had very good help out of our representative in Congress, not our senator, our representative. I'll leave it at that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. He has been very unresponsive to calls, visits, pleadings. It's just been he's been AWOL.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So that we were 300,000 short this fiscal year, I guess the last day that we're in. If it passes and goes into next fiscal year, is there a payback to this year where we could get this year's money, or is it only the next year?
Well, it would be for 25 and then or 25, 26, 27. So you'd almost get two in 1 year, I would think. Yeah, you'd probably get 2 in 1 year.
Okay, so it would be like what that we missed this
Correct.
year showed down, we would basically get a double up, basically. It would be an accrual or something like
Correct.
that.
Correct. It's a 3-year extension. That gives us some wiggle room and a little bit of relief to not have to worry about it year after year. And there's been a few years we've had to worry about it year after year.
I actually have a random question on that. So I've seen a lot of write-up on how Trump is about to start harvesting timber off of federal lands.
Mhm.
Have you heard about any of that?
Yep.
Seen any of that? You know.
So we did have that. I had that discussion with Rick Scott. We would love that. That would be awesome for the county to go back and harvesting, even if they just clean the growth each year.
Yeah.
Just thinning the forest of the growth each year would net the Liberty County School Board about $1 million a year, and the county about $1 million a year.
We'd be triple what we're getting, basically.
And it'd be awesome. It'd be awesome.
And it would be proper.
And so that's
forestry management.
correct.
So-
That really needs to happen. Should happen. I mean, philosophically should happen. But, there is such a strong lobby with the Sierra Club. I just didn't realize how big they were till a few years ago, but they don't want you to cut any tree down. So they're gonna try their best to find, right now, they deal with a salamander down there that, yeah.
Beautiful salamander.
It's a salamander, you know. Started out, you know, with the woodpecker.
I
Yeah.
could tell you a story about the salamanders.
Yeah.
So when Andy's paving Highway 65, they had to go in
Oh, one of the big-
and cut holes in the fencing.
Yeah.
So the salamanders
Go through.
cross the road through the holes back out in the forest. So you can imagine men down there cutting little holes.
In the silk fence.
In the
you talking
silk
about?
fence.
Yeah,
Yeah, the silk
I'm
fence,
not lying.
yeah.
That happened.
Kept salamanders from.
Yes, they had to cross the road, have a hole to go through the fence.
Had to be a certain size.
They did that for Highway
Yeah.
27 with gophers. They made a big wall, for that. So anyway, if they will do that, that would sure give us some wiggle room on our budget. So a little bit about budget rollover, just to kind of bring you up to speed. You know, we take last year's budget and we kind of roll that over so we can start spending money in July. And then, you know, once July's numbers come in from June's expenditures, then this is where Katie probably spends most of her time, is making the adjustments based on whatever the budget is. So, you know, she's like the rest of us, she, more so than the rest of us, what is the final budget gonna look like from the state? And again, by now, she'd already have that, and we don't have that. This next year, we won't have that problem because it's an election year, so session will start in January. So this won't be as, hopefully, an issue, come next year. So, she'll start making those adjustments based on whatever the the changes are, which we will not know until maybe later today. Our budget appropriations right now are looking good. Our track is in PICO dollars. Our bus is in K-12. We went through the legislative process. We went through committee. We went through all of the things, the hearings. There was many things that came in the 11:30 hour that got thrown in there, and they made the turkey list, which is always published. Obviously, we're not on the turkey list, never have been. We've gone through that. I believe probably that's the low-hanging fruit for the governor, is to do that. But it's politics, so there's always those things that, you know, a Senate president wants or a House Speaker wants. But they've fought so bad this year. I don't know who loves who and who hates who. But that's where that's at. Health insurance, that is always a big topic in the summer. We talked about it at the last board meeting, so I've got a meeting set up on July the 16th at 9 o'clock. Mason, I think I sent you an invite for that. Katie's gonna be there, Jeff's gonna be there. If any of y'all want to be there, that is absolutely fine. We just need to notice the meeting and keep minutes and do that. We could do that in here if we wanted to, if y'all wanted to do that as a workshop. But since y'all have assigned Mason to be a part of that, he can be the representative on the board. I think Miss Jody made that recommendation, and that's fine. We need board representation in that meeting. So let me tell you a little bit what that is. It's called the Florida Educator Health Trust. What we are considering and what we'll be looking at is a self-funded insurance program. Calhoun County's been self-funded, since 1985. They currently have about $3 million in reserves in their health insurance trust. When we first started talking about it in the early 2000s, I know when I got on the board, we had those discussions about being self-funded. We had multiple cancer patients at that time, and the claims were outrageous. And at that time, we were told it probably wouldn't be a good idea for us. And so I think it's one of those things that we need to revisit. If we felt like this was a good move, to be able to save some money on health insurance premiums, Ted Roush is now heading this up. Ted just resigned at the end of May or June, I can't remember, as the chancellor. He was the former Suwannee County superintendent. He went over and became the chancellor of K-12, and now he only worked that job for 4 months or so, and he is now working with FADS. This is a a derivative of the Florida School Board's Insurance Trust, which is FSBIT. It's now called the Florida Educator Health Trust. So what they're trying to do is get as many school districts involved for buying power, okay? It kind of maximizes kind of what PACE is doing. PACE right now only has Walton County, Jackson County, and Calhoun County. But they are all, and I do mean all considering, I've already had Daryl call me this morning, we're all considering trying to maybe jump and possibly look at this. Is this a good thing? I think with the number of younger teachers that we have, the good healthy teachers, and again, you know, you got to cover anything and everything that comes across. I think it's worthy of discussion and to look and see if that's going to be a cost saving measure for us and health insurance, because health insurance premiums continue to go up, and we negotiate, but it's still an increase every year. And you know, this might be something where we stabilize that or maybe even have a reduction. Yep.
You know, all right, so I haven't seen the numbers, I haven't had the conversations, I haven't looked at it, but I'm just telling you right now, I bet there's about a 90% chance that this will save money and be better for the district.
I agree with you.
Something like that.
I agree with
So
you.
in other words, this isn't something that you're gonna look at and be like, oh, this just isn't it. The dynamic and the shift in the nation for health insurance is this. I mean, and if you want to be able to stay alive as a business, as a government that's not funded by the state for state insurance, this is something you're going to look at. So I say that to say this is likely, this is a high probability this will be something that y'all want to do when you see the numbers.
Yeah.
Just put it on your
I'm
mind.
gonna agree with that, everything that I've talked to Ted about in these other districts. And so we've got a bunch of districts all around us that I've already signed. He said it's about a 2 to 3 week turnaround to go ahead and implement. So what the kind of the schedule, what we'll do is we'll have our meeting on the 16th, and then we'll workshop that probably, you know, within a week or two of that. Let y'all see it, have Ted come over again. We'll talk about that and then kind of see which direction. I'll have a recommendation
Wait.
for y'all.
When does our contract end? Or I know we're.
It
when did we
renews
got-
in October.
October,
Mhm.
okay. We have a contract.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
So there are a ton of derivatives, and again, I don't know it, but yeah, you got a card and there's a major medical carrier, right? Like a group that you say, hey, here's my card, and I mean, it looks forward facing to everybody that has the insurance. It will likely look, again, I haven't looked at it, it will likely look identical to what you're doing right now.
Correct.
Hey, I need to go in and have a, huh? What's that?
Hospitals and stuff taking it. Why I'm looking.
So it'd be the same thing, but rather than pay the premiums to that health care, you pay them here and we cover that. So if you have, here's where you save money for your folks is that, and I'm totally making this figure up for argument's sake. So if you had $1 million in premiums that you took in and you only had $500,000 in claims, well, then you bank that $500,000 rather than CHP keeping it.
Wait.
So
But I still gonna have my CH.
You'll have the same coverage.
Yes, none of that changes.
You'll have the same coverage.
Nothing changed. Hey, question.
Just cost you less money, hopefully.
Rather than sending them the premiums, you pay us. We become the school board becomes the broker.
Question, is this gonna require us to have another position to handle insurance?
Don't know. We'll figure that out. We'll figure that out.
Question.
I didn't hear that.
Very well
question.
could.
Question.
Or is this gonna require us to have another person
Very well could.
An agent.
to handle the insurance internally because we paid somebody, I won't say, I'm probably stopping, what was it,
We're in that contract prior.
huh?
You talking about?
Yeah.
the agent,
Didn't we
right?
pay somebody extra to handle the insurance, but
Well,
then
we had
they were
broke-
wearing other hats and
Supplement, but that's.
supplement?
Nobody gets that now. Nobody in my office.
Right, I know that.
Yes.
I know that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because with us taking it on, Kyle, let me make the recommendation, and I can't speak for I can't speak for other board members. But if we're taking if we decide to go this route and we're taking insurance, we need an insurance person.
Right.
Let's don't try this wearing hats.
No.
Because it,
And that'll be part of the discussion. What will be the infrastructure needs here
Yeah.
at the district? Those would be the questions we'll ask.
absolutely, because I just don't want us to get back into a situation where you call somebody and you say, well, you can call a 1-800 number.
Right, no, yeah.
No,
So, I don't
Okay.
know the look, but it could be that group right? They already have an agent, and then they have an administrator, and then they have the carrier for the insurance. It's probably packaged. Again, we'll find out,
We'll
but
find
it's
out.
probably
We
packaged.
just don't want to
Or there's-
undermine our internal
Right.
customer service.
Yeah, it's probably packaged where you'll have somebody to call when there's a problem.
Mhm.
That's their job, is to fix that, right? And it's not a customer service. It's like an agent that has to earn your business.
I agree with that. I understand what you're saying. We had that before too. But internally, when, we don't have an HR department. We don't have an HR department who handles insurance, that's what I'm saying. And, yeah, I'm not about big government, but we really need to think.
Want to
this
cover the need,
through.
cover the need.
We need somebody and not to get a 1-800 number reply.
A local contact.
I agree
Got
with
it.
you.
I don't think it's gonna be a hiccup taking the money, cause you already take the money out of people's checks anyway. I mean, the only thing they're gonna worry about, like she said, well, when you call, we paid somebody $8,000-9,000 supplement, and you call them, and that's what Jody's getting at, I believe. She don't want to say, okay, we're gonna call these people, and they say, oh, we're paying them, but then they say, hey, just call this number, they'll handle you.
Right.
That's,
No, we'll get those questions.
Internally and trained and knowledgeable and knows the ins, the outs, everything.
Subject matter expert.
Subject matter expert, a person. It may be 20 hours a week,
Right, right.
but we need somebody, y'all.
Okay, so anyway, I'm actually very excited about that. I think that's gonna be a good thing. If you look through the FEFP thing that I sent y'all, you will see something that will shock you. TSIA money, has been cut in half to about $40,000. That's a major problem. Again, that could change after today. We'll see. I know that's been the governor's, baby, is to get the bottom to 47.5 and to see the legislature cut that. I don't know if that was done out of spite or what, but he could put more money in that. I hope he does. We need that. And they did put money in there to fund what's already been the increase. What you will see within the conference report is the increase in FES, which is the Empowerment Scholarship. So we call them PEP scholarships, home education. That is blowing up and taking a lot of money out of school districts. It's in the billions.
Question, Kyle.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a thought. What you're sharing with us, has this been sent out district-wide, all the teachers, everything, to let them know what's going on in our budget?
No, because it's not final.
Okay, well, when it is,
Yeah.
I think that
Oh,
the teachers need.
I do.
Okay.
I always send it out. I
Okay,
do.
I
I
just
just,
wanna
it needs to be final and
Yeah.
I will send that out.
Okay, I
And,
want to make sure that they understand what
sure.
happened in our budget.
Sure.
Very transparent.
Let's see if there's anything else here I got. Okay, so, let's see, legislative budget, products. Okay, so let's go to the buses and then I'll wrap this thing up. So in the past, and this happened when I was a board member, we finance buses. There's a finance program, and I sent y'all this on the thing. You can pay the money up front or you can pay it in arrears. And so what I've given or what Kevin has provided for us is 5 buses or 3 buses if we want to do this. We have done this before. Excellent program. And the interest rate, obviously, if you pay in arrears, the interest rate's a little higher, about 5.28. It's a little less than 5 if you do it kind of upfront and do annual payments. This is mainly for your information. These buses are not cheap, obviously. If, you can look at the prices. If you do them in the arrears, it's a little bit more. If you do it upfront or the annual payments, let me see, make sure I'm telling you right. Yeah, if you do the annual payment, it's about $179,000 if we're doing 3 buses. So call it about 180, about $500,000 in buses. So again, like I say, this is very good if you can afford to make the monthly payment. That's the big thing. I want to consider this. Yes, sir.
Have we, so as far as the financing on this, I'm assuming it's through maybe the manufacturer's like financer or something like that, have we looked local? Like, to local areas to say, hey, would y'all be willing to finance our buses? We're looking at 3 to 5. What rates would you offer? I mean, they might, I mean, here's the deal. We don't have any debt, right? We have steady income coming in. We're local. I think we're pretty solid financially. Maybe they'll give us a better rate. What, have we looked at that option on an interest rate?
Well,
I mean-
you can do that. The thing is that you're not paying it all up front. And, you know, if they would, let's say the credit union would allow us to make an annual payment,
Mhm.
you know, I think it's worthy of looking at.
Yeah.
But we have not looked at that.
I mean, we're looking at 25 to 50 in interest, you know, over that 3-year period, depending on when we do it. If we can get it
Mhm.
down to 20, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, 20 to,
It's a savings.
you know, I mean, it's gonna save us a decent amount of dollars if we go this rate. I'd be interested in keeping financing local, anyway, to local businesses if they're willing to do something
Yeah,
like that.
and I think they would. So here's the thing. So in 4 years, we've gotten 2 new buses on legislative appropriations. This is my suggestion. If the legislature wants to give us money for buses and we don't have to pay for them, that's a best case scenario. I don't see us doing a big project ask for next year, you know, as far as saying I need $985,000 like we did for the field house, or, you know, $500,000 for a track and all that. I'm for asking for a couple buses. And I'll tell you, this blew my mind. Washington County got $1 million. Their school board got $1 million, and it's under, and I don't, it could very, I've been told it's probably gonna get vetoed. But they went through the process and got $1 million, and it's labeled operational assistance. I mean, that's just like, here's money for your budget. I was blown away. I went through that budget with a fine tooth comb, and I didn't see anything that where somebody just asked for money. $1 million operational.
They didn't have to outline what the money was to be used
Yep,
for?
they said we are a self-funded insurance program, and we just don't want to go, basically, we don't want to be underwater because of insurance rates going up, so we need operational assistance money. Boom, and it was about 3, you know, my narrative is quite longer. Theirs was about 3 sentences. So anyway, I watched that, you know.
And it's in the budget right now?
It is in there. Yep. Jay Trumbull and, the pharmacist guy, Shane Abbott is the representatives over that way. So anyway, I say all that to say this. I got really good traction in the legislature this year on that bus. Chris Doolin really helped us out. Our transportation dollars, and this is a little over, I think, $300,000. And if you'll look in that FEFP funding, I mean, that just don't cover near what Kevin needs to run buses, to buy buses, to maintenance buses, to maintenance staff, salaries, all that stuff. I mean, it's just never enough. And the state knows that. They probably fund 50% of what our actual cost is. But, you know, if we can get these buses for free, that is a best case scenario. I want to milk that as much as we can. I will do another budget request. Legislature meets in January, so I'll be doing another legislative budget request probably in August and September. I would like to hold out long enough for 2 things. Number one, let's see what the budget looks like. We're going to be tight in the budget, and again, this is due to students. We've got to be very tight. I think the things that we want to accomplish, we've talked about accomplishing, addressing compression with our non-instructional salaries. We've got to address that, and I think we'll be able to do that. I'll have that ready for you at the July board meeting. But we've got to be very, very intentional on not spending money that we don't have. And so, you know, that big annual payment of 179,000 or 159 or somewhere, that's a lot of money, that I want us to be very careful. So I would like 2 things. Let's see where the budget is after today and into this summer. And then number 2, if I feel like from talking to our legislators, they'll fund us a couple more buses, I'll put 2 in this year.
Kyle, again, that's great. They're great. I don't bank a lot on the legislature. They're very unstable, especially right now. And I do want to, I think that's a great idea. Let me go back. if we were to pay payments, that's an expense payment. That's not, that's if not FCO, that's coming out of it, it's expense money. So I think it is reasonable for us to look at that if we had the expense money. Number two, I want to really focus on trying to put 1 to 2 buses in as a standing item in our budget every year. Jackson County does it. I mean, they had 14 schools. I know you said they're down to 10. I think they closed up some. But they do it they just put it as a standing item. If we were to get the 2 buses, great. We don't use it. We got that money. But if we don't put it as a standing item, at least 1.
So,
And I know Kevin has said that's not gonna get us where we need to be. It's not, but Kevin, it's better than nothing. And if he goes for 2 and we were to get 1, then we got 3 buses. If we want, if we wanted to do that, I just
Right.
want a standing item.
right.
And
Well, I tell you what Melanie did. She was able over 2 years, so we got the legislative money for that first bus we got. And so what she did, what we talked about doing was save money over 2 years and then put it in the budget. And that's how we paid for the second bus.
Mhm.
So this will actually be the third bus, second bus through a legislative thing. One we budgeted, but it took us a couple years to kind of budget for that or to kind of save some money for that one. And that's what
well,
we've done.
again, I would like to see it just, let's look at it, to budget it. And then without the budget. If we
Yeah,
don't have the
absolutely.
money, then we don't have the
Ab-
money.
absolutely.
I agree it, but I still think we need to make the effort.
That's why I was saying that'd be choice
I'll
number
make
one.
the
Let's look
effort.
at the budget, see if we have room in there. And here's the
Clear.
deal. I don't have, and I say this with all the love in my heart. I don't have to tell them that I budgeted for one. They're not asking. So, if I
No.
could budget for one and then them give me one,
That's what I'm,
even better,
that's what I'm saying.
even better.
Now, what I just heard you say was, and I hear that a lot, I mean, and I'm just not gonna pick on Kevin here, but I'll pick like Ricky. Ricky, I don't personally don't think you get enough money to run safety. That's my personal opinion. But what we don't see every year, and maybe I've not seen it or in the form that I'm used to it because LBRs, when I would love to see an LBR come out of these offices to say, Kevin says, look, I need this, and I need this much money, a budget request to the board. And then we say, hey, Kevin, we can do this. We work that out and we negotiate that out. Ricky, same thing. If you getting $54,000 or whatever to 80,000, hopefully you get some more. They're going back down. Okay. So I would love to see them tell us, the board, what they need.
Okay, so
I know you might see that, but I don't see it.
yeah. So here's a couple things. This is what's helped us. So number one, they've not told us no on legislative appropriation in 4 years, which has been a blessing.
Yes, absolutely.
But the way I work those things and being able for them to not say no is the first thing they'll say is, do you have money coming in somewhere other funding source? Do you have a funding source? So and again, it doesn't mean we can't ask for it, but if they say, if I tell them, okay, I need something to secure a school, whatever that thing is, and they say, well, we gave you $300,000 or we gave you that, why is that not enough? It's a little harder of a sale compared to something that we have no funding coming in and be able to say, this is what our big need is. One of the, we made that, and Kevin helped, draft this. We made that big, what was it called? The wish list or the things that we needed. And we've slowly but surely been checking those off, one by one. And I've tried to use that as a guide because we made it, 8 years ago we had a lot of physical needs. There was a lot of physical things that we were not going to get any kind of FT money for, no kind of grant money for, as far as, allocations, the track, softball field, those kind of things. And we're starting to wind some of that down, from the physical plant. But, something like, a breezeway or something, if you wanted to do that, then that would be an absolute one of those type things that you could ask for.
Yeah, and I think we're saying the same thing, but in a different.
Yeah.
I'm talking about an internal. I'm talking about Ricky, Kevin, Katie, Mandy. Each department saying, hey, here's my budget request for
Yeah.
this fiscal year. And if Kevin's not got enough money, if he needs 2 vehicles, if he needs 2 more buses, if he needs these parts or this lawnmower, or this whatever, come to us in the beginning when we're creating the budget, when we're looking at the budget and say, hey, and then we all sit down and say what we can, just like the legislature
Yeah.
does.
And- and
When
we-
they get all these LBRs in, same thing, come to the
So
board.
we do that. I mean, Kevin, one of the things he said is we need some vehicles. And so, we were able to say, what money do we have? We were able to do that with a lot of the COVID money. We got 3 vehicles out there sitting, that's been a huge blessing.
But I
to
think if we
everybody.
did it in the time of the budget,
Yeah.
we would be better, in a better stance 6, 8 months down the road when he's saying, uh-oh, we've got to, this lawnmower I told y'all about, we got to do it now,
Yeah.
So all I'm doing is trying to get in a budget stance when we go into these budget meetings this summer,
Yeah.
and sit down and say, look, Katie, just like insurance, if we gonna need an insurance and it's gonna go in under Katie or
Right.
Jeff or whoever, what's that look like? Cause we gotta know how much we gonna pay a person, what's the benefits gonna be. That's gotta be incorporated into that budget. We don't need to.
About what you need to budget for this next year. These interventions, and we're losing grant. Like that Katie doesn't know what intervention. About X dollars, she's not. And you want for those kind of conversations.
I would love to see it in a document. I would say, like you said, we're losing this, we're doing that.
So like last year.
It can
we
be a
had-
1 or 2 pager. It doesn't have to be massive, but I would love to see it.
This next year's gonna be a bigger adoption year, so this year was small with just that kind of stuff, so it's stuff that we don't. So if she were budgeting this year, she might only budget $30,000, where really we need to budget.
So if we had these, I don't know how I don't watch other school boards, but if we had these conversations when we go to budget, Mandy stands up and says, look, this is why I asked for this. This is why we did this. We went up, we went down. Those kind of conversations will help us make a better budget decision. Because I think we just need to delve more into it. Instead of you handing us a number and saying, hey, we know why they're putting them here, but we don't. We don't. We know you went to Kyle, we know you talked, but I think it would be good for each one to say, look, this is why we did what we did and why we asked for what, and then y'all, Katie can say, we got the budget or we didn't have the budget to do this, and I would like to get a little bit deeper into the budget.
Okay.
I really would, and let them explain what they need to us, and it helps us carry the torch. We can get better on board and understand more.
Sure. Okay.
So, a thought on all that, if I may. Am I cutting you off, Kyle? Or
Yes, sir.
are you
No,
all right? Go ahead.
I think I'm done.
Okay, so I 100% agree. I honestly, this is my first round of it, so I don't really know what to expect and the culture of this. But being in government accounting, business accounting for a long time, I have an idea of the structure that I would like to see. And I think that's exactly the structure I would personally like to see as a breakdown of this. A few of my thoughts, I do agree with Jody. I would like to see on the bus side of things, I would like to explore the financing option, but at the same time, on the LBR, I would like to think about that or look at that. So kind of my mindset and the plan I see in my mind, I would still like to look for an RFP for grant writing and engineering, and I would like us to do that and be decided where someone can be selected and they can look into these grants and possibilities before we go into LBR in January when you start making those requests. So if they say, hey, we feel we can get A, G, and Z, we're not going to look at that in the LBR, right? And then in the LBR, we say, okay, we know we want to ask for some buses, but at the same time, we have Ricky and Kevin's wish list and safety list and repair list. I would really like to focus on physical facilities, like ADA compliance and safety. And if we can show, hey, we don't get these dollars to be in compliance with these things, it seems like a no-brainer on the LBR side. That the legislature's not going to turn down something where we say we got a safety hazard and we have no dollars coming in to be able to satisfy that safety hazard. That just seems like a no-brainer. They are not going to strike that down. That's
And I've
just-
included that in the softball and the field, that we didn't have ADA compliant bathrooms. So
Right.
that's been a big
Oh, yeah,
selling point with
and
that.
I'm sure that was a big sell point.
In the
So
budget narrative.
I would really like, again, RFP, what grants do we have? Look at the wish list we have, total dollars to make improvements, and then look at the buses at the same time to see what we have, and all this be in place, right? So January time, we know, are we gonna finance a bus, right? Or are we gonna go LBR? And here's the deal, what we might decide is, if we can look at the budget and Katie say, I believe we have X number of dollars that we could put towards a bus. And then we decide, okay, well, do we want to buy one bus, two bus, three buses? Do we want to finance it for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? What do we want to do, right, to make that work? That way we can say, okay, we feel strategically it's going to be a better decision to try to get $800,000 in ADA compliance and finance the bus, right? That might be $300,000 for two, rather than ask for two buses and not get the 800,000 that we think we could get for legislature to fix the majority of things on the safety and facility wish list. That's what I would like to see personally. But no, I would absolutely love to see what Jody said. I would love to see, this is where we're at on the budgets. This is what we're looking at doing. I don't mind, my understanding as a board member, I'm one of 5 that makes a budget, right? That assigns the dollars, makes the budget request as recommended by finance to the superintendent to the board, right? I don't mind being on the hot seat and be like, no, I don't want to do this. I'd rather do that. I think this is going to be the better decision. I'm 100% happy to do that. So I'm happy to be on that hot seat. So sorry to throw y'all under the bus if not, but I don't mind. I mean, I feel like that's my responsibility and I want to live up to that responsibility. I would also, when we start looking into budgets and total dollars that are available, I know it sounds like if this stays, those TISA dollars, we're getting 40,000. I would like to go ahead and be thinking in the budget now, okay, how much tentatively do we feel we would be comfortable giving raises to? I know that's collective bargain and everything else. We can't talk about the details, but I don't see how we can even begin to think about a raise for the teachers if we haven't even thought about putting it in the budget. Maybe we do that. I haven't seen it, but it would seem reasonable if we say, okay, we feel we've got an extra 40, 50, 60, $80,000 after we look at the non-instructional raises. I think that'll be on our meeting come, I guess, next month. How many dollars do we have to put into those raises for teachers right now, right out of the gate? And then maybe things change, maybe they don't. We'll fine tune it and collect the bargain. And when it's like, hey, we just ain't got the money, or hey, we got a little bit more. I would like to kind of know in the back of my mind that when we're getting to that point that we already have 50,000 more dollars to put with the 40 the state's going to give us to look at raises, and we're not kind of, and maybe we did that. I wasn't in it. You know, maybe it was done last year. I just wasn't in it. But I'd rather know now what I'm preparing for when we hit October, November, December, January, February, you know, and all those time frames. So that's just my mind right now and some of the things I'd really like to see. But strategically, engineering, grant writing, facilities, bus, I would like all this to start being incorporated when we're really looking at budget time. And I would hope we could go out for an RFP if we decide to do so, to kind of help facilitate that movement forward before budget's completely finalized, when we go through all the trim processes and VAB processes and finalize numbers. Well, as long as we actually do take ad valorem dollars from property taxes, if that's not changed. But that's what I would like to see. So y'all please continue to be patient with me and teach me, train me. I'm open to doing whatever is best for the kids, because that's going to end up being best for the district and the teachers and everybody else. So anyway, that's my thought.
Awesome. Any other questions? Thank y'all for staying a little later. Sorry. Yes.
do some of it, new. Well, bulb, that. EHR thing. With the city elect. Yet, I had something like, coming up 20. Even at the high school. So. Classroom this year, when they lie, we will have to convert them to LED.
Convert 'em.
How much? I mean,
Not that far.
oh, boy,
So I got a question.
And
I
it's
know
gonna be
the-
cheaper in the long run. ain't it?
yeah.
I gotta go.
It's gonna be a
I
upfront.
mean, here we go. There's the budget. Include the budget.
There goes that first bus.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure.
No bus, Kevin. No bus. There you go to lights. I know, it's an ever changing.
I'm pretty sure the courthouse just got not long ago grants to convert all their lights to LEDs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that stuff's out there.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you can make a repair now and then long term, I mean, you're probably looking at updating a massive amount.
Can we, think,
RTC bill.
does the county have any left over?
I bet they took all that down the
That's when they
trash.
changed them.
And they probably trashed them when they took them down. That'd be my guess.
Nowhere in the nation.
Listen, eBay, search
Everybody
eBay.
that contact with, I hadn't been able to find them. Found 22. RTC will eat them 22 up. Now, high school's good everywhere but RTC. Toller, the whole thing is, other than the gym, I converted some of them. Hosford gym's converted, the other two, Toller and Hosford, the whole whole.
You
whole
just-
building.
Well, again,
For LED
here we
now.
go.
Will have to be changed.
Gotta figure it out somehow.
Yeah, that's gotta be, I mean, that's facility, gotta have it.
The problem, we can go in there and take the ballast out of this light right here and fix it, put LED in it. This is still T8s. Ron comes in there and goes to change it, sticks a T8 bulb in that LED place, cause there's, don't look any difference. It blows up in his face. That's the reason you can't do one at a time. You gotta do them all or nothing.
I ain't good.
I already run into that problem. We already tried it, so it won't work.
Blowing up in the face thing is what you're telling me?
Blow up in your face because.
Can you
the
get a,
wire
can you
grid
get a, I
don't
mean,
Have a ballast anymore.
I know y'all handle this kind of stuff. I'm just,
I mean,
I'd like to see what we're talking about, like, when you say ROTC's gotta be done, how much is that?
Well, asked Jerome this morning, him and he, there's about 12 to 15 lights per classroom at Toller. Minimum of, you got 9 classrooms, 9 grades down there. So there's a minimum is there 2 teachers per class at Toller, like 8th graders?
Well, we can't have insufficient lighting for these kids, I'm sorry.
We'll have.
Hey,
You figure, you talking 250 lights at Toller. That's just in the classroom, not counting the office and hallways and all that. Bathrooms and all that.
uh-huh.
All right, Mr. Chair.
Motion adjourned.
Motion.
Motion McJody, second.
Take it.
I got mine that time.
Hey, Leah.
Move left.